Ghostbusters Frozen Empire brings back the crew from 2021's Afterlife. Now living in the old firehouse in New York, a strange mythic curse is uncovered, and wouldn't you know it, ghosts and spooky things are set free. It's the standard Busted affair, on a surface level. You see, there's something very strange in this neighborhood/movie. I mean, have you seen this poster? Look how many faces are on it, and this one is missing characters. There's also the return of Podcast, as well as the addition of Kumail Nanjiani and James Acaster. That's a lot of faces. So how does Frozen Empire balance this sea of busters? The new/returning characters from Afterlife have settled into a very sweet hybrid family dynamic. McKenna Grace as Phoebe Spengler is once again the focus of the film, and whilst her arc isn't as strong this time around, there are some powerful moments in a story arc that hasn't really been shown, so I don't want to spoil it. I also just adore how she channels Egon. It's a nostalgia bait character link that could have fallen flat twice now, but Grace elevates it far beyond that. Paul Rudd gets to play a lovable Paul Rudd type.
What? Buster makes me feel good. It makes me feel good.
And Carrie Coon is Mum. Not Mother, whatever that means. She just gives Mum energy. And could someone give Finn Wolfhard something else to do? The dude has spent 4 seasons of a show and 2 films wanting to kiss his crush and complaining about adults not taking him seriously. I'm not going to go through every character on that poster, but the ones I've mentioned are kind of the only ones that get proper attention. Not every character needs to have some big journey, but when your cast is that big, it's pretty noticeable when one is just standing around. And if the last film was about passing the torch, this one is kind of about smothering it. Initially, members of the 1984 crew get a sensical and fun role in this new status quo. Ray owns a spooky antique store, Winston's climbed up the ladder of power to fund the Ghostbusters. It's fun, but the longer the film rolls on, the less they have to do, and the more they're just in frame in case it sparks a nostalgia bone. There's a ghost that inhabits a chair, and it has more to do than Bill Murray. I love them, of course I do, but I also fully accepted the new guys at the close of Afterlife, and really didn't need another reminder of the past. Especially as this film moves the Busters significantly forward. As I mentioned, Winston is funding the science and research department, so they have this cool MI6 base where they're making new tech and investigating the paranormal. There's some really cool practical CG hybrid creatures throughout this film. You can really feel the love for 80s cinema oozing off the screen. I do remember the complaints about Afterlife though, that it had moved away from being an adult comedy with occasional sci-fi and is now just a straight up franchise, and all that stuff does sound more franchisey. This movie is still very funny, I think even more so than Afterlife. There's some cool practical gags throughout the film, and that speaks to me. But yes, they didn't listen to your complaints. This is way more popcorn than it is Twinkie. But here's the thing, I kind of think it's pretty cool. The Bustin' world is inherently interesting and wacky, and if they want to play up that angle, it could lead to some bonkers stories. There's hints to it here and there, but they never go all the way. If they're opening this up to be more of a family adventure series, which they definitely are,
I'm fucking telling you, it's PG!
Then that's neat. But don't play it safe. You gotta be weird with this stuff, man. Do you remember the first film? Do you remember what happened to Dan Aykroyd? Kid me had no idea what was happening. Maybe don't do that in the family film, though, I guess. Now, I've barely mentioned the narrative of this film, and yeah, that's where the strange thing in the neighborhood/movie really lies. The frozen threat is established fairly early on, but really only comes into play in the film's very sudden third act. The rest of the film is just a bunch of B-plots. Not bad, but not something that really successfully drives a 2-hour movie. They all eventually come clashing together, but I couldn't help but feel there was other plans for this movie. You know, that it wasn't supposed to be a movie. Halfway through, it hit me. This is totally an overextended pilot episode for a Ghostbusters series. A series I would love. I only call them B-plots because compared to the Frozen Empire, they're pretty low stakes. I enjoyed every minute of this film. So if it was a weekly show, a new baddie every week, more time to focus on your big old cast, and maybe a cool theme tune. Wait. It is no secret that this film takes heavily from the real Ghostbusters cartoon. James Acaster is straight up this dude. And having seen Frozen Empire, I truly believe they should have gone all the way. team up with a streaming service, and just make it a live-action spiritual successor. Man, I wish these companies would know how to give me their stories. I feel like I'm watching movie shows and show movies. But to boil it down, and not just for the pun, if I was to use a single word for Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, it's cool. It is a more recognizable Ghostbusters experience, being set back in New York, but it seeds in just enough new stuff to not get too bogged down in the nostalgic reveals of its predecessor. I do hope this is the beginning of a new Bustin' franchise. It's so clear that the cast and crew have a lot of fun making these, and also have a lot of love for the originals, so I just want to see where it could possibly go from here, just maybe in a different format. Also, Patton Oswalt is in this film. There's a lot of people in this movie.
Tall, dark, and horny at 12 o'clock.
Bustin' makes me feel good.